Hey everybody, I'm Evan, and today I'm going to show you a game that you have probably never heard of. So this is not that game. This is probably the biggest game in my collection, but since today we're talking about small games, I'm going to show you this one right here. It is called Yeti in the House. And as you can see, the size difference is massive. So let's go down to the table and I'll show you how it plays. So Yeti in the House is a tiny little game that comes in this little matchbox here, and it was put out by Yeti Games. Yeti you may know from things like Tokyo Highway and those other like games with nice wooden components. Inside you will find 4 components: a mountain, a footprint, another footprint, and a Yeti. Also, there's instructions that are in English and Japanese, I believe. So, here's the thing about this game. It is not played on a table. So let's go up to the wall, and I'll show you how it's actually played. So, a game of Yeti in the House is played by either 2 people or 2 teams. One team is playing the Search Squad, and the other team is playing the Yeti. So, first of all, what you do is the Search Squad takes the mountain and puts it somewhere in a single room. Yes, this game is played in one room of your house or one room, well, wherever, I guess, as long as it's a single room. So they would take the mountain and put it somewhere in the house. And then they leave the room. So, and then the Yeti player, this is where the perspective is. So what happens is the Yeti player stands in this spot, and then usually if you're playing in a team, the other person will take the Yeti and the 2 footprints and hide them somewhere else in the room. So, but they have to be visible from the mountain. And then you have to take a picture of it, like with your phone or whatever, from the mountain spot, so that the Yeti is visible. Then you are allowed to manipulate that picture as much as you want to try to obscure its location. Because obviously, here I am in the game room. If I put it next to a specific game, well, all you'd have to do is find that game. So you can like make it black and white, which is what we usually do. Like add some grain, like blur it, whatever it is, as long as it is locatable. And then when you're also trying to hide the footprints, they're kind of just there to throw you off. So sometimes if there's a little bit of a white peeking behind an object, like in the room, you might think that's the Yeti. But the goal is to find the Yeti, and then if they do find the Yeti, the search party wins. We have actually played this game in bedrooms. We've played it in our living room. We've played it in the kitchen. Because there's always going to be interesting hiding places in every spot of your room. So let's go back down to me sitting, and I will tell you what I think about this game. So there you have it. There's Yeti in the House. So to be completely honest, it does feel a little bit more like an activity than an actual game, but it is a very fun activity. Generally, when we play it, we split up into teams of 2, so like adult and a child on each team, and then that way it's a little more fun to kind of work together to try to point out where the Yeti is, and is that a footprint or is that the Yeti? Not really sure. This picture's not telling me very much. However, you would be surprised that based on these pictures, how often you can actually find where it is. Especially if you know the room. Obviously, if you're playing in your own house, there's little telltale signs that that sometimes don't get like obscured enough. But that's a kind of part of the fun, right? So even if everyone finds the Yeti every single time, it's still just fun to play to try to do it, right? So I do recommend this game if you can find a copy, which brings me to the next question: where do I find a copy? I believe there's one for sale on the Board Game Geek Marketplace, but I think it's overpriced. And if you do a Google search, there are some sellers selling it in places that I don't know how reputable they are. But honestly, if you really wanted to, you could probably just like make this game yourself using other objects around your house. So yeah, well, that about wraps it up this week. Thank you so much for joining me on the Tea Time. And, well, I guess we'll see you next month. In the meantime, enjoy that tea. See you, everybody.